Okay, our next question is from Sandy on healing the gut after Giardia. Rob, I believe you've mentioned at sometime in the past you tested positive for Giardia. I just found out today that I did as well. After treatment, how did you rebuild your microbiome?
Man, the rebuilding the microbiome is a tough thing to answer. Maybe we can. We're going to do a podcast with Mike Ruscio. Like I mentioned to you guys that we're mainly shifting to Q&A, but Ruscio, I think I mentioned last time, like he's just provided such enormous value to people that it's one of these folks that I feel inclined to go back to again and again because he's really Johnny on the spot with this stuff. Instead of looking at microbiome, I would look more at functionality. Like, how are you feeling? What are your stools like? Do you have any lingering signs and symptoms of dysbiosis? And then we have to get in and start addressing that. Some people do great with probiotics in general. Some people do horribly, like folks that have histamine intolerance tend to do poorly with the standard probiotic formulations, but yet these people may do very well with a fecal transplant. And again, there's just like huge variation in this story, but I would just kind of keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully you didn't get totally crushed by the Giardia. It's interesting. The studies that I've looked at on this is, one round of antimicrobials, antibiotics, it changes the gut microbiota forever effectively. We don't really know what that means. People kind of freak out about it. It's particularly problematic with kids because you're like, oh, did they start with pristine gut microbiota and then it changes after a round of antibiotics? We just don't know. But this is where I think looking at kind of clinical manifestations, like again, some people do great with prebiotic fiber and that seems to make things better. I think we have some questions here. Actually, the next one on green leafy vegetables. Other people, it doesn't work for them at all and exacerbates problems. So I think you just kind of have to look at it more on a clinical outcome basis. Like, are your poos formed, or are on the flip side of that, are you constipated? Are you kind of showing signs and symptoms of kind of gut dysbiosis, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth? These irritable bowel syndrome type things. And if you do, that's when we need to get in and start peeling the onion and figuring out how to deal with that. But I would be nervous about recommending anything absent knowing what's going on. Because the one thing that I'm fairly confident with, and again, I got most of this data from Dr. Ruscio, in the clinical trials that have been done on prebiotic administration, about 50% of people get better, about 50% of people get worse. And so it's really a highly individual process. And then even within that, some people do great on like VSL3, which is a particular probiotic strain that has shown some efficacy for ulcerative colitis and post-C. difficile infection. But then other people have problems with it. So it's just a big thing. But again, figure out a baseline, see how you're doing. And then if there's problems, then we need to get in and start trying to triage and figure out what's going on. Dr. Ruscio's book, Healthy Gut, Healthy You, is a fantastic resource. And for a print book, it is so powerful in that it provides kind of a logic tree. Okay, you are here, you're experiencing this, do this thing. If ABC happens, then it kind of leads you to the next step and the next step. Yeah.